All right, let's get this started. Hey, um, we don't have a set intro. Let's do a throwback. Hey, Frost lads and Frost lasses, it's your boys, your undeveloped men, Megazard and Hajad, coming at you for another hot episode of this train wreck. And I used train wreck before. Whatever.
I mean, favorite duo, PU duo. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, it's my favorite PU duo. Let's go with that. Uh, it's been another week of hot PUPL action, and that's what we're going to do, unsurprisingly. But before, just two quick announcements. PU Grand Slam signups are going to go up for the PU Open one on Sunday. I can't say 1 week because this won't go up till Tuesday, but they're going to go up Sunday. And then there's going to be the Nintendo Direct about Sword and Shield on Wednesday. So those are like news things that you should, you probably didn't need me to remind you, but just in case. Anyway, on with the show.
Lovely.
Rob, this was a really hacksy week. A lot of games gonna be like, yeah, it's kind of stupid. Sometimes it's just how mons be. But Rob Jr. versus Lax was the first one. This was just kind of silly.
Are we doing replay log order or are we doing it?
Replay log order.
Alright.
It's
Okay.
It's just easier for us. Lax brought like a super throwback team. Like this is real close to my old Sun and Moon sample, not even Ultra Sun.
Yeah, I think the first game of 2 PUPLs ago, I used Combuskin plus Sensu. That was hilarious. I also used... I used a lot of his team, to be honest. I used Kanga, Sensu, Combuskin, and Quillfish. I've had all of those on that team.
It's a really old core, this whole build situation. Unfortunately, he missed a huge hurricane versus Rob Jr.'s Stoutland that like really turned the tide of the match. I don't think he had a guaranteed win by any means, but it definitely would have been pretty close. Lax's team had solid enough Combuskin and Sensu checks to where it's legitimately like he'd really need to outplay specifically, and it came down to the wire, but hard to know what would happen. Get ready to hear that a lot.
Yeah, to be honest, I see a lot of work that Sensu could have done in that end game. It's kind of unfortunate that it never got to do anything. I think the game would have been much better if it hit it. To be honest, it's like one of those could be moments.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Game 2, I guess. Robert Alphonse versus Realistic Waters.
Oh my god.
Oh my
This
god.
game was weird. This game was weird as hell for me. Did you get that same sort of vibe? Because there were moments where Robert Alphonse looked in complete control, looked like Realistic Waters had no way of coming back, and then Realistic Waters did come back, and then it looked like he might win for 2 seconds, and then he got shut down again. So I don't know what you thought of that.
Yeah, it was weird. Robert was one of the few people to bring a team that looked not weak to Combine Mesprit, which is pretty unusual for most teams brought this week, apparently. It's like this kind of interesting little offense thing that, again, I felt this was kind of a fairly even matchup. And
yeah,
it really went back and forth. Like you said, no one necessarily grabbed, early on, Realistic Waters got a big Specs Lantern to break through Robert Alphonse Electros. That's pretty useful. Electros checks most of the team. And then Robert Alphonse fires right back with Hidden Power, probably Fire or something to lure the alone Sandslash.
Always fighting.
Oh, it was fighting. Okay. He used a Calm Mind Z Signal Beam Mesprit to get multiple KOs, and it got 2 kills, and it really weakened the Silvally Fairy, and it did a lot of work, and that's going to be another trend. Combine Mesprit doing insane amounts of work this week, and then Realistic Waters fires back with his Simisear doing damage. it kind of turned into a lot of trades, but I always felt like Robert Alphonse had a pretty solid handle on things right until the very end, where like it turned into it like ended up becoming a bit more about 50-50s, as they both had very few mons left. It's like who's going to switch when. But
Yeah,
Robert definitely with the advantage in these like quote unquote 50-50s because he had a full health Reggie Rock in the back.
yeah, yeah. I think that was the key thing. There was an unfortunate miss for like realistic waters somewhere in the middle where he missed sleep powder on Mesprit.
Oh yeah,
Um, I don't know how much. I don't know how much that like mattered in the long term because I felt like the plays were relatively the same regardless of the miss. Um, and the life orb Simisi almost fucked over Alphonse big time. I'm not a huge fan of that set to be honest. I feel like the Agua set with Gluttony is much better, just for like that long term, lasting like effect. But if you're going to go for non-Z with Simisi, that is. So I'm pretty sure it might have some calcs though. To be honest, with Guzzlord being a thing. So I don't know, maybe.
I agree, but it
But
was actually
regardless,
very interesting. Where I do believe Life Orb actually mattered for the
it might
relevant
have mattered on the
for
Mesprit.
the relevant calc
Yeah,
on the end of the game. At the end of the game, if you go look Simisear, yeah, okay. So if it's like Agua Berry Simisear, he's only doing 47-55, whereas
yeah,
Life Orb dealt 75%, in a pretty relevant situation. So I do agree that that's like
fair enough.
the more common, probably better overall set. But that actually came into play quite solidly, where Robert had the Life Orb Simisear and the Z Move Mesprit, as opposed to your more common Colbur Mesprit and Z Move Simisear.
If you consider it, yeah, if you consider like the counter argument, it's like the series here wouldn't be at like 10% in the first place. You know what I mean? It would probably be at like 70,
I doubt it'd be
given like
out of range of Scarf Mesprit, but then again, I really don't know. Scarf
I think
Mesprit
you,
Psychic does 70-80 to Simisear. Like,
yeah, then that, yeah, I don't know. It's one of them weird ones, isn't it?
yeah, hard to say. Anyway, I thought this was probably one of the better games, to be honest. It wasn't that special. This was just a super hacksy week. Um, Fun stuff from both sides. Robert more messing around with Calm My Mesprit, Realistic Waters with a Specs Lantern. Just yeah, enjoyable stuff.
Yeah, I feel like in this meta now currently, if you rely on a loaded Sand Slash to be your like Mesprit switching, your Carmine Mesprit switching, you're just asking to get screwed over. To be honest, at this point,
Combine Mesprit has been so good these 2 weeks. It has done easily the most work of like any Mon this PUPL so far. It's absolutely nuts. I'm pretty sure it
yeah,
actually does work in our next game too. Raichi versus Ryza.
smooth transition,
Yeah, I actually do
double dog.
not. Yeah, Raichi brings a fun little double dog team, which I'm always down for. Um, and Ryza brings a Articuno balance, which is also not something we've seen a ton of recently, and I'm also down for. Um, Raichi definitely. I'm sorry. Okay, so I don't believe this was actually. I tried to skip through it. This wasn't another Combine Mesprit game. I didn't remember. They both did have Mesprits, but nothing Combined here. I think Raichi played this game really well.
I'd
Um,
have to agree with that. To be honest, yeah, I think
um,
he played just a bit more efficiently. To be honest, I don't think it was like better, but he just played efficiently. Like that makes all the difference.
I mean, that is better. No, I
Yeah,
don't. I kind of missed the point of that. I think he
I mean,
knew exactly like where and how to chip through things and like carefully. Here's where Stoutland can mostly trade with Kuno, and then I can Healing Wish it later. And here's how I'm gonna break the girder for my Lycan Rock to do work. And like that's efficiency, but it's good play. You know.
yeah, no, I don't think you can fault that. I think the what I meant by sort of efficiency is sort of like um, he's more so like planning his plays rather than making like a series of doubles, um, and that to me is a bit more efficient than just saying, okay, I'm just going to double here and double there and double here, like for example. But they both can be classified as outplaying, I guess. But yeah, he definitely played really well this game. I was quite impressed.
Yeah, I think that was mostly again one of the better games this week, and Also, again, I'm always down for double dog. But Ryza, I don't know. Ryza tends to be like one of the better players that we have when he shows up. So to see him kind of just get outplayed really like this, um,
Yeah, I'd probably say his team doesn't do him any favors. But that being said, it's not a bad team by any stretch.
I agree. And I'm sorry, I've been a little distracted. I've had to put up the next round of a ladder tour, which is what I've been doing.
Mhm.
But that's all I have to say about the game. If you want to move us on to Ham versus Watchog.
Okay, our favorite Scott versus our favorite GSC Enume. Um, so yeah, what do you think about preview? To be honest, because I think when you look at like Watchog's team, it's got the Metang and Caracosta, so you can immediately imply, okay, Caracosta's offensive, Metang's your rocker, and then Ham sort of brings the same core like Skunk, Lanta, and Pom Pom, but instead of having like a Costa as his offensive outlet, he has like Guzzlord and Guzzlord and like Primate. I do think Watchog's team is actually quite slow looking at it now, so it might be like Skuntank looking at it. But yeah, I do think like just looking at
Okay.
the sort of previews, I'd expect sort of Ham to be a bit more like on the pressuring side because Guzzlord does a bit of work to Watchog's team. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
you also got the lead right as well.
yeah. So I agree that I don't know. I actually missed like half of that putting it up, but I'm pretty sure you said Guzzlord's like in one of those situations where it can be an amazing threat, but kind of needs to get the predictions right. And if that is what you said, and I'm not wrong, then yeah, that's kind of where I
Yeah,
saw this matchup going. Watchog's Caracosta also looks pretty nice, just because Caracosta versus most teams with Scarf Primeape ends up being pretty good because Caracosta gets Aqua Jet that. Um,
yeah, for sure.
that's
I'd say yeah. I think the big thing is that Ham got a huge like fire blast off on the Silvally Fairy really early. Like that basically meant that he could spam Dark Pulse the entire game with basically no like drawbacks because Skuntank is not switching in. Nothing really wants to switch in at that point. Like at the end of the day, it's going to be Watcher trying to check the Guzzlord with a lantern essentially, and then it just sort of like keep on trying to like make sure you're doing enough damage such that you don't lose to the Costa, but also like you have Primate as a viable like outlet at the end of the game.
I for sure agree that Ham kind of just wore down Watchog like just faster, not by a lot, by that like important little bit that let him take control. There was a point where Watchog missed a couple of hurricanes. He was mad, but I think Ham at that point kind of had it because he just kind of played the early game, getting in his mons just really solidly. And the important bit was like he never found himself forced back into Primeape. And if Primeape takes any chip at all, Caracosta is going to be that really big issue. Um, but fortunately for him, it didn't. It was able to only take 82% from the Aquajet and revenge the
CF
Costa.
tabs.
And that was what he needed to win to kind of just play that solid early game, kind of jump forward, take the lead like early. And yeah, that was good. That was good stuff by him.
Yeah, I would have liked to see what would have happened if Watcher did get those hurricanes off, because then it could be a story of maybe he has like helmet on the well, he does have helmet actually on the pom pom. So if that primate takes a unforeseen rookie helmet like damage, that Costa is looking very good at the end game. To be honest, especially now that we knew it did 80 at +2 Jesus to primate. So
For sure. Also,
yeah,
Tondus versus Evagero is going right now. That's the last game of this week.
okay,
That's
yeah, I should watch that. Is it on main or Spontos?
it's on main. Um,
All right,
it's just on turn. It's turn two just happened. Anyway,
okay.
FLCL versus JMash. This was much more of an FLCL game. Like last week, we talked about FLCL just looked a little lost with his full offense team. Didn't play, I don't know, characteristically. This was like FLCL just kind of doing his thing and being real good. Um, I don't think.
Honestly, I don't think. I genuinely don't think FLCL had to play this game really well. Um, I don't know about you, but this game sort of revolved around sort of J-Mash, sort of, I don't know how to say it, sort of like choking, I guess. I don't know if you could call it choking, but he just didn't make the the safer switch pins where he should have, and then he got punished for it. I'll give you an example. When he had his FLCF had his lantern out, instead of going into the uh, Roselia, I believe, he just decides to recover. He's at like 60%, so he just decides to recover, and then FLCL brings his Stoutland in, takes Pursuit, and then the Gerda check dies. So um, I don't think it was probably the cleverest idea to use Jellison as a like, you know,
I
trying
don't
to like stay in and keep like pressure up, I guess, on the lantern. Like I think he probably should have just bailed out of that situation and trying to preserve that
I agree, and I
Gerda
think you've
check.
taken. I think you've been a little confused on the point. Don't get me wrong. I agree that JMash did not play this game that strongly. I actually kind of liked his matchup here, or at least like it wasn't amazing because the stout could put a lot of pressure on, and the girder was like a solid late game threat. But I think he had like what he needed to really do well with if he could get at like more hazards early and effectively spin block. But I think at the same time, while JMash kind of played a bit too passively, FLCL was kind of making every single correct play, got like all the pursuits every time, um,
Mhm.
and pretty much like efficiency. He was very efficient at ending it very quickly. And because like FLCL beating JMash is not any kind of upset or surprise, I think the notable thing is that like this looks a lot more FLCL than what we saw last week. That's kind of more of the
Yeah,
interesting story to me than like this dude who has won like all the tours beat J Mash. No offense to J Mash, but yeah, um,
yeah,
that's
I'd agree.
that's where the interest
I'd
is.
say it's I say this team probably suits FLCL better. It's more classic in the way that it's built. It's like here's momentum, here's a strong breaker, and here's a couple cleaners. Go do work with it. Versus like last week, it was sort of more of a meme. Like I'd expect to see that team in like a room sort of type of scenario. You know what I mean? So for sure, I expect this is probably more accustomed to the FLCL you'll play on the regular. To be honest, like a bit more momentum based with breaker
Exactly,
and then him just basically give him the devices to outplay, and he'll outplay. Like he'll do the rest.
I agree. So okay, Kushlos versus Rexus. That's the next one.
Wait, just 1 second. That triple flinch from the Alolan and Sand Slash was hilarious. Okay, we can continue.
Maybe if I don't know, he could have just clicked Mach
It was
Punch. So I didn't think it was that funny because he could have just hit Mach Punch. But sure. Okay, Kushalos versus Rexus. I'm gonna be honest. This was like one of the first games of the week, so it's one of the only ones I really do not remember just about
yeah.
anything about. So I'm gonna kind of skip through it real quick. From team preview though, um, Kush has a funny Simi Sage, but like not a great Simi Sage matchup in my opinion. If you have a Simi Sage team and it doesn't have an amazing matchup, then like you're kind of in trouble because it tends to be the focus of teams. Where that's kind of the mon that he wants to be putting in work here. Um, and there's an Articuno and a Metang and a Scarfape and and a Drampa. Um, but it looks like Kushlos is kind of just getting all the kills all the time that he needs. Yeah, Kushlos won this like almost looking he it looks like he almost won like really easily for lack of a better word. Like it's not that it's easy, but like he kind of just got every kill on every mon when Rexus had like solid defensive checks, but Rexus never like really used them much or made any big offensive threats. So Kush kind of like hit his buttons and won pretty fine. I don't know. What did you think about that?
Well, yeah. I actually wasn't around to watch this game. I don't think. even though Rexus was on my team. So yeah, we didn't really have time. Well, when Rexus wanted to play, we didn't have the time to prep. I believe it was like the first game, no Johns. So
Yeah.
both of these teams are old teams. So like I've seen Kushalos TJ use a team that Kushalos used, and Rex's team is also old. I believe I saw that when he was playing an exhibition. I think.
Something like that. I definitely recognize the team.
Yeah. So yeah, again, looking at it, I was quite happy with the Drampa matchup. So given that you can get momentum on the Gastrodon, just clicking Draco Meteor would be able to like get kills. But the issue is that Rexus lost a lot of his like mons to like not so much misses because like the initial Hurricane miss on the Articuno kind of sucked because then he couldn't like pressure the Aggron, the Chopple Aggron. Just Chopple, right? Yeah.
I mean, the initial hurricane miss wasn't great, but like it's an early hurricane. Like again, like really early in the game, if someone dodges a hurricane, you don't need to drop your Kuno after. Like I just don't think it was necessarily played right. He'd let Kuno die extremely early, not scouting for the resist berry, the Chobble berry on Aggron, which I don't necessarily like. And if you can't handle like missing one hurricane super early in the match, then I think that's just an entirely separate problem.
Yeah.
Nor do I feel like Kushlos necessarily made any like super crazy, like ridiculous doubles at any point. He made like some solid doubles and played very well, like knowing what to preserve, but um, nothing super crazy kind of happened here. Kushlos never even brought out his Simisage once, which was the mon I said, like, if your Simisage does nothing. He did?
Yeah, he did. He brought it out to check the Jealous, I think, and then he just switched straight out of it.
Yeah, okay. He doubled it in once to force out Jellicent and then doubled immediately back out. So yeah, like he kind of just did his thing, and I don't know what Rexus. Like Rexus really needed to figure out a plan here. Also, Tondus just won.
Yeah, that was my initial. Yeah, Tondus did just win. Yeah, my initial like idea was that okay, what's going to happen in this game is like Silvally Fairy and Primate are going to be the like main outlets for Dramp to come in. But what ended up happening is that all of the like defensive pivots like Jellison and Metang never came in the first place. So there was no like defensive switchings from Kushalos anywhere. So basically, what ended up happening is that Kush, by virtue of just maintaining his offensive pressure with like Skunk and like Aggron, and especially Gastrodon, he played Gastrodon really well. He just didn't give Drampa enough opportunities to break for it to matter. And then when Drampa was gone and then the Articuno went, like we had zero way of pressuring the Gastrodon. Like it was super problematic at that point.
I agree, and also you like. I have no idea what that sound is. I can't even make a guess.
Oh wait, never mind. That's the microphone coming into contact with my zipper.
With your zipper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an zipper.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kushalos just had the offensive play that he needed. So the next game is Sam versus Jerry, but real quick before that, I'm going to post week 3 right now. Now that the last game is done, the deadline's not for another 45, but I can put it up.
Okay. Do you want me to just go ahead and explain? Because actually, Jari's team was like really weird for us because we had like 100 teams for this one game, but we decided to end up going. What team is this? This is the Psychic Electric Ice Fan team.
Yeah, go for it.
This is the So basically, we had a good idea of what like Bonamon Sam likes. So we know he loves Mesprit, you know he loves Gerda, you know he loves Frostlass. Like these are the like Pom as well is something that he usually always brings. So we were very much so like knowing that these are the things that were going to happen. So you see the Electros. Electros does well versus every Sam team to have ever existed ever. Mm-hmm. So that was like a primary focus of ours. Is like make sure you have constant momentum. Like we don't want to be losing momentum unnecessarily. So yeah, we decided like Electros was a staple. Mudsdale also worked as a like physical meta check in this meta. So we were thinking, okay, if we can just call those two together and use them as like special meta check, physical meta check, and then we have like a lot of freedom to go around like with our offensive core. So again, another thing we decided for was CB throw, which didn't do anything in the game, but I mean it's a cool thing, so use that thing. Mesprit's broken, Jinx's scarf, so that's some decent speed control. The reason why it's not primate, like I thought it should be, um, is because Caracosta does a bunch to this team, and being Aquajet immune is nice. And yeah, defog Rotom is actually a really good defogger. So yeah, we were thinking as long as we can keep up pressure with this team, that Sam would be uh, forced to give in. But yeah, going into the game, actually, I thought we had not a very good matchup, given that the Hail core existed and that our Rotom was at 36% by turn 3. So
Yeah,
it
so
wasn't looking it wasn't looking great, to be honest, at that point. But I think Jari, over the course of the game, just sort of played efficiently, and made sure that whenever something that was weak to Alolan Sand Slash was in, it was always like outside of the hail turns.
yeah, so
Yeah,
you've got Jerry with the team that you just described, um, where your ice resists are like your own ice types and not especially bulky ones, and then Sam rolls up with triple ice type hail team, Aurora's Frostlass, Sandslash. That can be pretty scary. But I think what we saw is that Sam didn't really find a way to use hail properly. He used Specs Auroras to get a kill early on, and then he let Auroras die to set hail for Sandslash like late game, and Sandslash only ever came in to try to sweep once. And the thing about his team is like if Sandslash came in twice to try to win, it probably would have won. But like doing it once with a non Icy Rock Auroras, there's just no time.
yeah,
Um,
100%. It's like the whole dilemma with like Trick Room stuff. Like he was basically that Trick Room sweeper, like under Trick Room, but he just didn't have enough turns for it to like really do business.
yeah, there weren't enough turns. He didn't like. He would either had to set it up twice or get like more kills earlier, which I don't think he really could have necessarily done. Which is why I kind of disagree. He went at the point where he was messing around by like going Sand Slash, doubling back to Frost Slash, all that. Like what he needed to do was get in the Auroras, double out, get in the Sand Slash, and try to do that way earlier than he did. Because
Yeah,
his issue was he grabbed short term kills, like gets Victory Bell in, Bloom Dooms to get rid of the throw, that gets Auroras into revenge kill with the ancient power. He gets like short term kills, but necessarily wasn't necessarily playing like super long term. Whereas
yeah,
Jerry kind of had a better idea of this is how I keep my Mons alive so that Mesprit will win late game.
yeah, 100%. I'd probably say that it was a mistake for Sam to let us whittle the Mesprit early game because that really opened room for our Mesprit, our own Mesprit, which is I think HB fighting in U-turn, to like really put on the pressure. And then like when he has like the eel in the back, like anything that threatens the Mesprit, like the Frostlass, he can go out into eel and just click the bolt switch and like not be scared. Like that's exactly how he get them. So yeah, I feel like Dry played that really well, to be honest. And despite that, I do think uh, the same sort of thing that we applauded Sam for last week, which was like really like refined strategy, is like sort of a bit of the opposite this week. Like I felt like he was sort of playing a bit turn by turn and a bit like I'm gonna do this now because this will get me a kill type of thing.
I agree.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's good enough to move on. Now we've got Katut versus Finch. You must have been very happy with this game as your player. All right, here's the rundown. This is like the biggest case for like this week was kind of dumb. Katut brings a full stall, which is not something we've really seen from him. Is like kind of out there, and I didn't think you guys were especially prepared for full stall. It was a bit of a
Oh
Katut.
yeah, no, definitely
It was a bit of a Katut stall because it had a Servine, but whatever. Full stall is still full stall. Finch couldn't really break it. It goes like 80 turns or whatever, and then at the very end, Finch gets okay. I believe it's 3 crits and 4 crits and a freeze with his Rotom Frost.
no. It was 2 crits and then a freeze. I think that
Two
was the
two
sequence of
two
things.
crits and a freeze with his Rotom Frost to break through the Audino and Sableye and Poliwrath. And that was why Finch won. It's like, well, that's a little silly. Um, yeah, but sometimes those games just happen.
Yeah. So just to give some background context, I believe Qatar really wanted to play either me or Rexus
He
this
did,
week.
yeah. He did not want to
So
play Finch.
he basically did not want to play Finch. That was the one person he didn't want to play against.
So am I to guess
Was
that like once he saw, oh fuck, I have to play Finch, I didn't want that. He's like, well, I'll just hard stall, or did he think that's a good team? I mean, you're not his manager. So we don't know the answer to that. Either way, I think the call was like a good call. A mix up like that is good to keep it fresh, and it sucks that it ended. We've had our differences, but no one deserves that. You know.
yeah. I mean, the thing what I was trying to go for was the hard read. So I knew TJ would want to try and fix Kitap versus Rexus. So where Rexus was, I put where Finch is in the second week. So Rexus was the third SM slot in week one. So I put Finch in the third SM slot in week two to try and maybe like counteract a Kitap switch to try and like force a Rexus matchup, which ended up working out perfect to be honest. Like, um, and I guess I sort of got the plot armor for doing that, and got a bit of hacks as a reward
Deserved for
for
your
doing so
excellent
recently.
lineup work. Sure.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
All
So,
right.
yeah. Actually, though, I do think versus K-Tut's more standard stuff, our team was actually really cool. And it just sort of sucks that that team had to go to waste
It had a
like six,
float
seven,
soul,
so
so I'm
usually
not
if it's
that
a
big
really
on
good
it.
team.
No team
I
with a
think there's
no team with
only
a float soul's that good, but I
I was
think we
actually
should I think we should
honestly, I was actually kind of, yeah, I was actually kind of mad because Rexus leaked this team super early because he used it in PULT for the finals, and I was like, oh shit, now Kentuck might look at this and see the sets. Um, so I changed the Electros set to a more crazy set than what Rexus used the team with an early version basically. So I refined it. When I refined it, I used the U-turn Electros set. Um, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
this is a more refined version of the one Rexus used in QLT finals, which was unfortunate. But yeah, there's not really much to say. Like Finch got lucky.
Yeah, okay. So Osh versus TJ then.
Okay, this is the opposite.
Oh, was it the opposite?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, from
What do
my
you mean?
perspective
As
at
in
least,
like
I don't
as
know.
in like how is it the opposite? There was some hacks in this game. Uh,
Yeah,
okay, I don't. The talk after this game was of hacks. I think that's super overblown. But TJ brought this really interesting and unexpected team. Like this is not what I would expect from TJ. It's a very fat, slow team. As fast as on his Skuntank. It's got like
it's
basically this
actually
fat.
Sandslash.
It's actually what?
It's actually Sandslash. The Sandslash is Scarf, and
Oh
then
right, it's
it's
Scar
Slowpoke
Sandslash.
Blizzard.
I'm stupid. But that's still like a fairly slow team.
Yeah,
It's
very
a
slow.
it's a fat. You've got Cleftang, you've got Lantern, Alola slash Skuntank, so he doesn't get bodied by Calm Mind Mesper, thank God. And then like Crabominable as like here's a fat team. It's gonna pivot around. Then I'll get in a mon that like is real hard to switch into and get kills. Not something you normally see from TJ. Whereas Osh kind of has this more general like here's a strong team. It's got a Guzzlord, it's got a Mesper, it's got a bunch of good mons, and I'm a Tor player that can kind of just pilot it well. Um, Not too unexpected, but it is what it is. Early on, TJ gets I don't know if people were talking about the Dazzling Gleam crit mattering, and honestly, I have no idea if it did. But I only remember people talking about basically like pretty interestingly played game where very late you get a lot of trades. You get Osh um, trying to break through Tangela with his Stoutland and not finding a lot of success, but then dodging an Icicle Crash to get it to come down to like this really close late game scenario where Osh just has to hit two Hurricanes in a row with his Swanna versus TJ's knocked off Clefairy to kill it. And if he doesn't hit if he hits two Hurricanes in a row, he wins. And if he doesn't, he loses. And he didn't hit two Hurricanes in a row. And I mean, that's a 51% chance to hit both. Plus, I guess the odds of critting or confusing make it slightly more likely, but or confuse and self hit, like it make it slightly better, but not by a lot. And he didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So the Dazzling Gleam crit where TJ did crit the Guzzlord, that did matter. Basically, what that meant is that entire sequence of turns was, with the Hurricane hitting the Clefairy and whatever, that was basically like put backwards in terms of the game on when that would happen, because then we had to deal with like a 50% lantern or whatever health it was at. Like, so that basically slowed down the process of Swanna coming in, clicking Hurricane, getting a kill, and then like Clef coming in to check it for maybe a 2-hit Hurricane. That all stuff got pushed back in terms of the game because of that Dazzling crit, which was crucial. But Osh got a bit of hacks back with the Icicle Crash miss. And if that Icicle Crash did hit, I do think there was no way back. I don't think that Osh had much of a chance after that. But he dodged the Icicle Crash, and then that whole set of turns with Swanna and Skuntank. Swanna eventually killing the Skuntank by using the Z move, and then Clef dodging a Hurricane early on to seal the deal. But that Dazzling Gleam crit, I think, was probably the most important thing in that entire sequence, because if that Dazzling Gleam never crit, the Lantern would be dead, and we'd be talking about a different end game where it's Swanna like trading, like Swanna comes in, gets a kill, and then TJ has to try and like out trade, whereas it's now TJ trying to maintain an advantage that he had. So for sure I didn't expect what TJ brought. I feel like it was a bit of a scared question mark, because the team is just so bulky without any real like purpose. I feel like it's like a CB crab. So then he's trying to like have some ice spam with like the CB crab and the scarf sand slash. But we never got to see the set actually, so maybe you can confirm or deny what I'm saying. But yeah, I feel like I maybe put it up to Osh as well, because the Gerda was Spadef. So I was saying maybe Spadef Gerda could 1v1 for the Clefairy.
Hey Jed, you know we have a podcast with two people.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't disagree with anything you're saying. We can have a dialogue, I like.
So what do you think? Do you think potentially Osh could have had a sweep? Like, do you think a sweep could have been potentially on if he decided to like Healing Wish the Gerda and then try and 1v1 a +0 Clefairy? Do you think that was like a thing that he could have done?
Obviously,
especially with a Tangela weekend.
Obviously, this really depends on the girder spread.
The girder is max Spadef. It is maxed out in Spadef, which is kind of a blessing and a curse, because I mean you can't do as much damage to the Clef, but you tank the fight. The move lasts better. So
is it calm?
It is max. So like max.
Is it plus Spadef?
Max special defense. Yeah, plus Spadef.
Okay, it is plus Spadef. That's what I needed to know there. I don't believe Girder can do it. I think he can basically weaken Clef to the point where Clef goes down with Girder, but at that point you're not winning the game, ? Unless it's like a really specific scenario. But I think like if you're setting that up, it's possible for TJ to play in a different way, but like you're not having some random like he shouldn't have a random last mon that can clean after that. And I do not believe Girder can 1v1 the Clef. The Clef Moonblast is still doing 27 to 32. Your unboosted Drain Punch is doing 21 to 25. Your +1 Drain Punch is doing 32 to 33. Now, I can't calc everything for sure, but unless your Girder is at +1 as the Clef comes in, which does not seem like a super feasible scenario to get unless TJ really messes up on playing around the Healing Wish Mesprit. That's what you need for Girder to be able to 1v1 the Clef. Because otherwise,
Okay.
he Calm Minds once. Moonblast is doing 40 to 47, as Drain Punch does 32 to 33 back. And yeah, it's just no good.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
you
fair enough.
and you'd also need to get Girder still like at the end your Girder would need to still be healthy enough to kill the Tangela, which mean like the Tangela is not going to be in Mach Punch range because you're not setting up that far. So that means that you can't be ending up like barely living a Moonblast and killing the Clefairy with Mach Punch. That doesn't work. You have to end up killing the Clefairy with Drain Punch. Oh no,
Yeah, you
Girder's
have to be
faster
essentially.
than
Oh,
Girder's faster than Clefairy. That doesn't matter. Um,
yeah.
I can't entirely do the scenario live on a podcast. That's something you'd have to check. I don't think it can, and I just don't think like ultimately we can't know or really be worried too much about the game. What happened happened, and I think we should just head on to the next one.
I mean, yeah, that's basically the main hags though that everybody was complaining about was the Dazzle crit, and then the you'd expect maybe some like injustice to hit the Hurricanes, but I mean it's monsters, no justice, so yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. Okay. So we had Razori versus Tricking. Tricking. I want to say I know his team from somewhere. You're his manager. I really think I recognize
Yeah,
it. I'm not sure where I recognize it from though. Like,
yeah,
is this
because
new
we
or?
used it. Yeah, this is we reused it from week one. This is Finch's week one team.
Okay, yeah. I think it looks solid enough. Maybe like one of those
Yeah,
teams where Calm Mind Mesprit kind of just smacks it because it has Guzzlord, Sandslash, Mudsdale, Quillfish. Like Calm Mind Mesprit, really goddamn scary. But and otherwise, like I think it probably works fine. Raspberry brought full rain, which
yeah,
this is kind of one of those cases where you hope rain, like you want rain to basically get that good matchup and kind of just win. And Tricking had just enough options to outplay it. Where I don't know that there's a lot that like Razori kind of got outpredicted in a couple cases, but I don't know that there's a lot he could have done because Tricking had enough options to play around rain. Mudsdale's actually not bad for checking Kabu. Smash Caracosta didn't really win. Tricking's got spikes. He's got a Helmet Quillfish. He's got a Guzzlord to check the Ludicolo. Like, I don't think Razori was taking this at any point in time.
yeah. I mean, the whole idea behind us picking this team is because we knew it was pretty safe as a like manager. I was thinking, okay, Tricking is a great tour player. He'll if I give him like a 50-50 matchup versus Razori, he'll win the game. So that was the priority on my half. It was like, okay, let's get Tricking a good enough team such that there's no risks needed to be taken like unnecessarily. Yeah, but I feel like Razori kind of misplayed versus the Alone and Sandslash when it was locked into Rapid Spin. I felt like he was sort of maybe because he doesn't know the tier as well as we do, but we know that that's a Scarf Alone and Sandslash just by the structure of the team. And he decided to go Quillfish to check it, and I don't think that was the correct play considering that Quillfish is walled by the other Quillfish just by virtue of its typing. So um, I feel like that was kind of a little bit of a misplay from Razori, like mid game, which kind of punished him. But even then, I do think like Tricking had a bit too much in the back, even if he made ideal plays, I guess at that point.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't think even with ideal plays, this was just really going to get anywhere, which is unfortunate. But like you bring rain, and sometimes your rain just doesn't have the matchup, so deal with it. Uh,
Yeah.
that's 2/3 of the Sun and Moon games. Ziri versus Lord ST. Um, I think this was another Combine Mesprit game. Let me
Yeah, this was.
quickly go through. So Ziri has another very familiar looking offensive team where it's like you've got Guzzlord and Simisear and Victory Bell all working in tandem to like try to just smack around teams real hard on the special side. But unfortunately for Ziri, LST used Calm Mind Mesprit really well. Gets a Calm Mind as Ziri tries to go Guzzlord, kills Guzzlord with Z Blizzard, then kills Sandslash with Z, not with Z, with Hidden Power Fighting. Like Sandslash took one hit because it was Chobble, but it only did 33% back with Icicle Crash. And like with Mesprit suddenly grabbing those two kills, he even saved Mesprit after. Like Mesprit could have also killed Simisear, but he decided not to. Like with Mesprit grabbing those two kills, Ziri's team, still really strong as it was, just could not really do anything because he lost too many things like that. And it's another
Yeah.
case where Combine Mesprit is really good, and people didn't start abusing just how hard it can be to revenge kill until just now. Because you want, like, it breaks through its defensive checks just fine, and there's not that many, like, faster, strong physical mons to smack it around. Like, you've got, what,
Yeah.
Kangaskhan? And then
Skunk. Maybe
Pinsir,
skunk.
some Skuntank sets. Like, there's not a ton, and a lot of teams just aren't running those kind of mons.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. To be honest with this Mesprit, I think this game was sort of epitomized by Zeri being a bit like lackadaisical around the Mesprit. Like he didn't really respect it in the way you should. So like he leaves storms with his victory bell, and that basically gives Mesprit complete freedom to click Carmine. Like you're not
Yeah,
staying it with victory bell on a Mesprit in the first place, even if you haven't lost two stages of special attack. So as soon as that happens, LSD thought, okay, license to Carmine for free. Um, and then it just picks up kill after kill based on its set essentially. With HP fighting being like HP fighting 3 attacks is like amongst like the top sets that we've seen. Probably one of the most dominant sets we've seen like of recent metas, to be honest.
for sure.
Yeah,
And then
not really
there's
much else
really
to say.
not like a lot more to say. It's just so deadly. LST played it fine. Zeri need to play like crazy offensive to keep it out.
Yeah, I
Um,
think just based on preview as well. Like I think Zeri was thinking, okay, if this is like Carmine HP fighting with like Dazzling Gleam or whatever, like it could have been ICMZ, Dazzling Gleam, whatever. Like I think he was sort of like saying, okay, I can't. Like, there's not much he can do at that point. I feel like SD also did well to kill the Claydol because that's the only thing that could have tanked a Dazzling Gleam set. But I mean, he wasn't Dazzling Gleam in the first
yeah,
place,
it
so
was
I
it
don't think it
was
was a matter.
ICM Mesprit. So whether it was Ice
Yeah,
Beam or Blizzard, Claydol did not help.
yeah.
Next game, Zeri versus Lord ST. No, I'm sorry.
Zeri versus Lord
We
SD.
just, God damn it. Next game was Tasker versus Shane Ghoul. Uh, how do I not
I
remember?
believe Shane hacks this.
So
Yeah,
Shane did not. He didn't get anything that was like hugely crazy, but he got a lot of small things in like little situations that just really helped. Early on, he gets a defense drop on Tasker's Alone Sandslash. Then he dodges a focus blast with Auroras to keep his Auroras around, and like individually, nothing too crazy, but like he stacked up really early in the game, like a couple of strong things that he needed. Um, the only counterpoint I can say to that is honestly, I think Shane Gould would definitely have won the game anyway. You can't say that for sure, I
potentially.
know. But I think Shane Gould already started out very strong because he had a Life Orb Smash Karakostka and Tasker brought
Didn't have it. Yeah,
like
straight up
nothing
offer.
to stop it from winning. Like Karakosta
Yeah,
didn't set up amazingly. Like it only set up on Sand Slash really, or potentially like Primate Choice into Stone Edge or something. But once it set up, it literally killed his team because Tasker's Revenge Killer had to be Scarf Ape that just dies to a orb, plus two
yeah,
life orb Aqua Jet. The
yeah,
only reason it didn't sweep at the end of the game was because he decided to not risk Stone Edge and just hit Aqua Jet instead versus the Swan. Like it kind of sucked because he really got like a huge boost early on with like two really solid defense drop and then the focus blast dodge. But frankly, Caracosta just 6-0'd Tasker's team, and that's not really something you can use.
Yeah. Also consider that the Frostlass is specs, so any like ghost stab goes straight through Tasker's team as well. So like it gets in on the Swanner, click Shadow Ball kills it.
Oh.
The Sand Slash was stealed early. The Sand Slash was weakened early. So I don't know how much the crits like mattered, but like if Shane managed to like chip it into like Shadow Ball range, that could be difficult. Primate essentially gets forced into clicking Stone Edge, which lets Caracosta come in and then smash for free. So, I mean, that's definitely going to be the opportunity. That's where Shane wins the game. Is like
Yeah, I didn't know that
Tusker getting
Frostlass.
forced into. Yeah, it was specs because you could just tell by how much damage it was doing and how he checked it.
Yeah, I didn't check. And sorry, I keep just wanting to talk. Um, I didn't even notice, but yeah, even if the defense drop hadn't happened, like the focus blast dodge hadn't happened, Specs, Frostlass, plus Scarf Auroras, like the way Tasker played where Sandslash got chipped really early, that was always going to break like real goddamn fast and hard. And yeah, like it, the early stuff kind of sucked, but I think he just had a really good matchup and also just a fun team. Like Specs, Frostlass plus Scarf Auroras is a really interesting combo, and to follow that up with Smash Costa, uh, it's definitely off kilter to where you can get a couple weaknesses that are like going to be a little tricky, but you have a lot of offensive leeway there to pretty much have a good chance versus any team because of like how weird those kinds of like strong offensive matchups are.
Yeah, 100%. And when Shane showed me the team, like it was the night before, I said, Shane, show me your team versus Tasker. And he said, yeah, sure. And then we played the game, and I don't know why this team looks so weird, but it just works. So I don't hate it.
I mean, it's a
really
very
fun to use
Shane
it, yeah.
team. He tends to bring like those
Yeah,
kind of off kilter, not quite like full Katat level stuff, but like definitely a little weird things. And I liked it and had a good matchup.
yeah,
Uh, all right, next
sure.
game.
Also,
Also,
wait, did I say also? I didn't mean that.
oh, okay. Next game. Chloe versus Gondra. This was a bit of a heartbreaker for me because Chloe definitely choked this one in a real unfortunate manner.
Mhm.
Chloe's got this fun-looking team. It's got a Ludicolo, it's got a Lycanroc, it's got a Scarfalo and Sandslash, all things I like a lot. Gondra also kind of following up the trend of like this just solid tour player bringing this solid team that has a bunch of top tier mons and looks generally fine.
Yeah, this team is far from solid, mate. I don't know.
Okay,
What you
not
think
I didn't mean
percents are.
solid. I mean like
It's crazy.
kind of just stacking on like a lot of your basic mons into what looks like this just generic like this is something I can pass someone and it'll do well. That's what I meant to say. Um,
Yeah, fair.
it is a weird team and it's got some funky like he started off with Life Orb Mesprit, which is definitely not your average setup. It's also weirdly like Frostlass pretty much 1v1s his entire team for starters. That's
Yeah,
that's the first thing I go to when you think of just the weirdness, and it's an odd construction, but I don't think I don't think it happened to have that bad of a matchup. To be honest, it could have been
yeah.
so much worse for Gondra. Um, but yeah, starting off the game like went really weird. Chloe basically turn one uh, uses Super Fang, Scarfalo, and Sandslash to chip off Gondra's Life Orb Mesprit as the Mesprit kills the Sandslash with hidden power. Chloe just opting not to scout for it was really weird. And then opts to go Mudsdale and take all that Life Orb Psychic chip just to get up Stealth Rock. Like a really offensive start from Chloe. Which honestly could have worked because then Chloe proceeds to like keep playing real offensively. Pivot in Silvally Fairy on a Z Draco Meteor, that's really useful. Or maybe it was Z Outrage. You know, it was a Dragonium Z. Like keeps trying to play really fast and loose here with your parting shots and your using your Figgy Mudsdale and all that. And it really could have worked because Gondra's team is also pretty Silvally Fairy weak. Most of it, like, genuinely just loses you. The Frostlass died pretty early. He's got a Hitmonchan and a slower Pom Pom and a Guzzlord and a
Yeah.
and like a slightly chipped Kangaskhan. And Silvally Fairy could have won the way Chloe played it. But unfortunately, what Chloe opted to do was let it die instead of preserving it to Healing Wish it. And I think that's all Chloe needed to win because
Yeah.
by keeping Mesprit instead of keeping by keeping Mesprit, by not like sacking something else and keeping your Silvally Fairy around, it went to like a really close last mon keep trading off until Gondra wins scenario, where Chloe just
Yeah.
doesn't have the right Pokemon to win, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird because about the comment about the slower Oricorio, the Oricorio I played at a Stadium testing and it was Scarf. So the Oricorio was like a throwback set to when they used to run like Scarf. That was like pre alpha they were running Scarf and stuff. Like defensive hadn't even caught on that at that point. So yeah, the Oricorio is the Scarfer there.
That didn't even cross my mind, but you're right. It did totally outspeed a Lycanroc. Still doesn't change the fact that, like, I think Healing Wishing Silvally was the only play here that gave Chloe a good chance.
No. Yeah, 100%. That I don't think that's an unfair comment to say. I think I think this is more so like a demonstration of how good Healing Wish support is than it is like Chloe may have choked this game because, well, I mean she did, but there was like if that Healing Wish had gone off, like you could definitely see Chloe winning this game and with almost like a 7th one because Silvally Fairy did a lot of work early on, then got chipped all the way down, and then same with Mesprit. Mesprit did like a lot of like tanking like from the Hitmonchan. If that Healing Wish had gone off to the Silvally, that would have very much been like a 7th one type of scenario happening. You know, where there's like a the whole idea behind Healing Wish.
It's a trade situation. You're going back and forth, but you get to have 7 Mons because Healing Wish Mesprit is good, and instead it ended up Healing Wishing the Lycanroc while Gondra still had a very healthy Hitmonchan. Like that's just not the play, which was sad because I think Chloe was playing really aggressively, and I really thought Chloe was gonna get it in, but just couldn't quite finish out the game to take the loss versus Gondra.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't hate the Healing Wish of the Lycanroc, but I thought the set was going to be a different set completely. I thought it was going to be Zen Headbutt Lycanroc.
Oh, yeah, it also could have been Zen.
You want hardball. Yeah, like, I don't know the specifics, but for sure I didn't hate the play if it was Zen Headbutt Lycanroc, but I mean...
But it wasn't, so like, if it was, you were fine, but it wasn't, so you weren't, so that's a problem. The next game was Jonago versus Chill Shadow, and I believe, this was the game Jonago just kind of like hacks Chill Shadow real bad, which sucks because Chill Shadow also got hacked real bad last week. And he had a fun team. It's not one I recognize. I don't know who made it for him. He's on, let's see, the Octilleries, so could have been, like, the Octilleries have a lot of builders. I don't know, but it's another Ludicolo team. I love Ludicolo. It's got a...
no, Chill Shadow's on the Mystery Business, aren't they?
Oh, I'm sorry, he's on the Mystery Business, so it was probably in a Ruzi's build. I'm assuming that's still their builder. It's got like a Ludicolo. It's got a Scyther Silvally pivot core with the Guzzlord Breaker. It's just like a really fun team. And Jonago also had like a fun team that could have been a real back and forth here. I think the kind of an issue was that Jonago had a Scarf Dodrio, which I'm pretty sure is faster than Ludicolo under Rain. Don't quote me on that.
If it's... I think it outspeeds by 1 point. If I've done my mental
math right. It's something like that. Like, it barely does, but it does, and that's really critical for, like, Chill Shadow. Like, you can check Ludicolo... If your Ludicolo is checked defensively, you at least have options to wear stuff down. But being checked by a Scarf Dodrio, like, that's kind of hard. And it really, that's kind of what it looked like early game, where that was going to be the problem. But instead, Chill Shadow just got really unlucky. Yeah, let's see. Scarf Dodrio hits 525,
Yeah.
and
Ludicolo is
Ludicolo,
262 times 2. So yeah, it'd be 524.
yeah, I can't believe Ludicolo and Rain isn't on the speed tiers. We really need to update them. Anyway, um, Chill Shadow missed 4 moves in a row. No, he missed 5 moves in 4 turns, and the one turn he didn't miss a move, he switched. And like he didn't get to he didn't get off 2 toxics and a meteor mash and a hydro pump, all of which would have been like really useful chip versus Jonago's team. And without that, like he lost so much early pressure. He didn't get to pressure the Rotom. He didn't get to chip the Mesprit. And like I really can't blame him for just not having a way to win after that, because it just sucked. Like Jonago had
Yeah, 100.
too many mons for Chill Shadow to be able to win in like a trade situation, and like he wouldn't have been able to in a different scenario. But that's kind of mons sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, this entire game basically predicated on how much Chill Shadow could abuse the Gastrodon existing. If he could get the the Guzzlord in on Gastrodon a few times, or even Ludicolo, to be honest. Ludicolo is, like, scary enough to break, like, without even setting up Rain and sweeping. Like, it's scary enough to break. And, yeah, like, there was none of that because Chill Shadow never got the ability to pressure offensively, even though he deserved it bringing Cypher. No vibe.
You're right. All right.
If you bring Cypher, you deserve to get hacks.
Last Sun and Moon game, we have Fellaburn versus Telenet. Fellaburn bringing another Ludicolo, so I'm wondering if that's Eurysius's Bonermon, and Telenet brings the Wishy-Washy.
Do we really need to like analyze this game? Because I feel like this is somebody brings bad team, somebody brings good team, and good team wins.
Yeah, pretty much. Telenet brought a silly team. It had a Wishy-Washy and a Shiftry and a Simisear, and that's already 3 mons that like barely have any defensive presence whatsoever. And like it just got bodied. We can move on.
I mean,
We can move on. This was a really silly team. Telenet on the Octilleries maybe could have used a little bit better quality control there. Yeah, that's not good. So overall from the SMs, we saw the Victory Bells going 5-0 in SM versus the Kinglers, which was obviously like that instantly wins them with a week. Really strong performance. I don't even think these were the ones. One of them I think was a bit of luck, but for the most part, this was like just more solid SM performances. I think we saw the Haunters.
Yeah.
The Haunters went 2-3 versus the Dedens, and I don't like. There were 2 like kind of very lucky game. There's one very lucky game for both sides, although the Finch one definitely like the poster boy for damn that sucks. Then you had like both Rexus and Sam I Am not play especially well and take the losses, and it kind of came down to the flex game where Razori brought Rain and didn't get the matchup, and those were the SMs. And then you had Octilleries versus Mischievouses, where Mischievouses went 4-1, and the only loss in SM was where Chill Shadow got haxed. Octilleries definitely brought some weird teams there. Couple of chokes, couple of just like hard fought losses, but yeah, not a good showing for them. You definitely do not want to be taking that hard of an L in SM. Moving on, I guess, for S. Lighthouses versus Pearl, because False got subbed out. That was the game I was looking forward to most, False versus Pearl, and really sad it wasn't able to happen. I believe I'm actually trying to remember because there were 2 games that looked really similar. Yeah, no. I was thinking of Raw Melon versus Eternally, where there was a really big crit that kind of changed the game. But this wasn't it. Pearl reusing a team I'm pretty sure I recognize, and I can't say I remember Lighthouses because you don't see a lot of Seeking teams. this was a real interesting one. This was actually a real back and forth, like genuinely fun game where Pearl like clutched it out in a really close. I don't have a ton to say about like I don't know, fairly clean even matchups, solid play, and Pearl just ended up like getting the win. It's hard. It's almost like the better the game is, it can be harder to say about it because we're not doing in depth analysis, just like brief highlights and stuff. And this was just definitely a game to watch. Good shit.
Yeah, I'd 100%. Um, if you're like just listening and you want to watch a game, just like to watch this one because this game was sort of a highlight of how to like make yourself as annoying as possible in the late game,
Yeah.
and just sort of feed off of any chokes that exist ever. Like I feel like none of Lighthouse's plays were bad in the late game. They just sort of lacked an edge that Pearl's had. I feel like Pearl's plays were much more like precise in terms of like what he wanted to go for in terms of like a late game. There was a crucial like turn with the seeking. I think it waterfalled Luminion, which was like huge for Pearl because they got like a special attack boost from that to boost the school, which was really nice. Apart
Yeah.
from that, that was like there were no chokes, but there was just like Pearl just like being super annoying in the end game and just refusing to lose, like refusing to lay down and die essentially.
For sure.
Um,
And this game
After
was
Lighthouse,
so down to the
yeah,
wire
after
that literally one turn like that could and did make a huge difference because of how close it was.
yeah, I would like to say as well that the Lighthouse has played the early game really well as well. To like put Pearl in a position where you have to make those plays, I feel like is like good on you. Like that's like a that's like a that's like no mean feat in itself. So yeah, this is definitely one to watch if you have the time. It's a bit of a longer game, it's like 60 turns, but I mean, if you just want to have some like entertainment, I guess like pretty good game. I'd recommend it.
Mhm. The next game was Teddy versus Rodri. Rodri brings the Dundee's stall, the infamous Bronzor, Muck, Odno, Avalug, Altaria, Stunfisk, just lots of fat things to wall. And Teddy was prepped for stall and just kind of like won really goddamn well because yeah, like Teddy had a well played Nasty Plot Behem and a well played Sword Stance Marowak. Was it sub Sword Stance?
Yeah,
I think
some
yeah,
starts.
sub Sword Stance Marowak and Nasty Plot Behem, and he played them well. And like sometimes when you have stall, just like sometimes you bring rain, sometimes when you bring stall, you do not have the matchup and you lose the game. And Teddy played it well enough to where I don't think like Rodri just didn't have enough ways to outplay because that's how stall matchups work, and Teddy just kind of did his thing and shadow over stall. There, how many times can I
Yeah.
stay stall in 1 minute?
I mean, okay, so let me put you through a brief like backstory to this. Basically, Ted has exams at the moment, so um, he's not really like, even though he's not supposed to be active, like he's actually been quite active this week, which is quite worrying. I hope he's doing well in his exams. But um, yeah, the key thing, what I was talking to him in terms of preparation earlier on in the week, I was saying like, okay, so what do you want to bring for Rodri? And I suggested he has exams and he doesn't have that much time to prepare. Why not bring Dundee Store and then hope for matchup? And then he said like, no, 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 I definitely don't want to bring Dundee Store. I want to outplay him. And then the ironic thing is that I'm sure Rodri had the exact same like thought pattern, except nah, I'm just going to bring Stall. And yeah, the person who decided, against the temptation, I guess, of bringing Stall, like this is a completely fresh team, if I recall correctly. Ted built this like spanked me with it a couple of times and said, yeah, I'm good for this week. So
Whoa, he
yeah, I
actually
thought this
built
was
this. That's surprising.
yeah,
I,
he
I
built
thought
this.
because I thought
Yeah,
you were
he built
leading up to
this.
Ted being too busy, but no, I mean that's pretty cool and good stuff to him, especially with how busy he is. Um,
Yeah, he basically decided that like, okay, I'm just gonna go for like two meta checks, like Bahia and Tangela, and then just put a ton of threats on the team and see what happens. So, it worked out pretty well for him, to be fair.
Yeah, I think we said that Teddy was going to be the best ORAS player if he had the time to like try and prep, but that he I didn't think he would. But he did, and he beat Rodri. So there you go. And Rodri's not even. We might talk about week 3 very short. Rodri's not playing ORAS next week, which is like, damn, that sucks. Um,
Oh,
just
interesting.
because the Haunters are like really like they only drafted 11 players. One of them's already kind of dead, and I think he just didn't have enough ways to rearrange. So Rodri and SM,
Wait,
um,
who's it? Who's not alive?
Lockjaw.
Oh, Lockjaw. Okay, never mind.
So last OS game you had Eternally versus Ramelin. This was a bit of an ouch game. Could have been like another like real close, interesting one. And then Ramelin got a really good crit, like a really, really good crit,
Yeah,
which meant that he could basically sack his Monferno to get off a lot of wall breaking, and then eternally you wouldn't have a Bronzor in the back that he needed Monferno for. Like Ramelin basically had four Mons that hard lose to Bronzor, a Monferno, which obviously beats it, and then a Shadow Ball Kadabra, which can kind of chip it. And when he crit the Bronzor, he was basically like, okay, now Bronzor is not a problem. I don't need to keep my Monferno alive. Let me just break the team and win. And
yeah,
yeah, that just kind of sucked.
yeah. I mean, Eternity's team is a way old Teddy team. Like this team is ridiculously old actually. Because I remember playing this team back when like Oras was like the main tier. Like I remember Teddy saying, so yeah, I was like playing with this team, and he said, yeah, don't use that team. That team is way old and it's way out of the like meta right now. So like use something else. And I was like, yeah, no, this team sucks. And then Eternally brings it like 4 years later or however many years later. It's like, oh shit, good to see these things still get used.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, this is this yeah that crit on the Bronzor is super unfortunate. I don't know if Eternally might have wanted to maintain it a bit easier, as you said, like it straight up walls three of them, of three mons, and then like I guess Rotom is a bit of a good at chipping like Bronzor. But yeah, I think Eternally could have played it a bit better, just because like the Rotom Frost is such a big threat. I mean, you want to try and limit opportunities for your Bronzor to get hacks, but I mean, you still got hacks at the end of the day.
I
It's still
mean, limit
unfortunate.
opportunities. He took two Shadow Balls. One of them was a crit. As
Yeah, I mean, you should not be switching in full stop. Like, you should not be taking any hits with it unless it's entirely necessary. But I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it be like that sometimes. You know, you switch it in, you get hacked instantly.
for sure. So I think we can run through our like. Oh, I was gonna say we can run through the gens that we know a little less, but you're kind of the black white dude, so that's not really fair. Black white PU, CB Aaron Judge versus Serene Grace. This one was funny to me. Like this was just a um, CB Aaron Judge had a bit of an unfortunate scenario. He missed what would have been a really good sleep powder, one sleep powder early games, like whatever. Then he hits it later, and then he tries to sleep again, and
Yeah, then you get sleep
sleep
clause.
clause activates because he just wasn't paying attention, and then Jumpluff dies to Scarf Simipour. It's like, well, that
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
that's really unfortunate. Otherwise,
Yeah.
this did end up being kind of a pretty closest game. He brought Auto Sun Victory Bell as opposed to Victory Bell on a Sun team, which I haven't seen a lot of. And it did some really good work. It actually had a surprisingly strong matchup. Like, I feel like if he full sunned, he probably would have won. Um, with the only check being Chlorophyll Jump Off, I think Sun probably has to, like, work out some way to beat that. I don't know. But it ended up being really close and ultimately won by the fact that like CB Aaron Judge ended up losing a lot of mons to Serene Grace's Jumpluff, not realizing it wasn't Seed Bomb Jumpluff and couldn't touch his Graveler. Obviously, like you'd assume Jumpluff being the grass type can probably hit your Graveler, but it couldn't, and that's kind of what made it. That's like the small thing that ended up putting it in Serene Grace's favor to win.
Yeah, 100%. There's not really much to go into that game, to be honest. It sort of felt like trades the entire game, and then finally, like, um, just enough like misplays for Serene Grace to come out on top. Yeah. You like that sometimes?
Mhm. So do you want to talk about your game versus King? Why not?
Oh, fuck that game. That game was trash.
Yeah, be
Basically,
be brief if you want.
um, yeah, I'll be brief because I think I saw King Wynot's game last week where he brought Full Sun. So I was thinking, okay, this guy uh, is cheesing, I guess, or like he didn't have that much time to build. Um, so he brought Sun, and then throughout the week he was sending me messages saying, okay, whenever you want to play, just let me know. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Um, so because he was playing early, I assumed that he wanted to cheese again. So I was thinking in my head, Riolu, sun, rain, all the weathers. Um, so I was thinking, okay, yeah, this Steel team has a very good matchup versus most of the weathers. Riolu, it's extremely good versus because I have a Natu, so that's fine. Um, so yeah, I should be fine with this team.
Long story short, King
Pretty
Why
good.
Not brought Trick Room, and Trick Room kind of just auto won because Hajad brought a stall that just was not really ready for Trick Room.
Yeah, so basically, I had to play the entire game like it was hyper offense, where it's like, um, okay, I'm gonna have to get my hazards up right now, and I'm gonna have to get my spikes up right now, and hope I can limit Marowak's chances to break and win the game, because that was the thing I was most scared of. And by virtue of trying that, I lost to everything else. So that it'd be like that as well.
Yep, it just be like that. There's honestly, we saw some cases this week where like you fish for matchup didn't go so well. But King One is I think 2 for 2 on winning with the Sun and then Trick Room. Did he win last
Yeah,
week? Yeah.
yeah, it did.
Okay. Yeah. So worked out for him. Last game, Tondis versus Evagero, the one that kind of just went down. Um, I believe Evagero said after the fact he was not very happy about basically
Cheap.
this. Yeah, this was kind of a this kind of ended up being a very close-ish game. But early on, Evagero switches his Bayonet into a Thunderbolt and gets fully paralyzed. And Evagero was like, this really hurt him because he had to lose the Bayonet, and that was needed to break the
Oh,
bronze. That was needed to break the bronze ore because otherwise this was like kind of close, but without any real chance for him to put pressure on the bronze ore because the rest of his team couldn't
yes.
hit it well.
Yeah, I mean it's her first of all, and second
Fuck,
of
sorry.
all,
Yeah.
basically the net was huge to this game because yeah, the Bronzor was the thing that I don't think she can kill without the net. I believe it's like trick or something. So having that would be very nice, maybe for like a late game. I think that mod in general though is cursed because she brought it last week and the exact same thing happened.
Yeah,
I'm
it
pretty
got
sure like
crit. Yeah.
it got insta crit and then died. So yeah, I mean, lesson learned: don't bring net.
Yeah. Honestly, I still would favor Tondis a bit because when you
Yeah,
have
Thunder's team is just
one
bulky.
when you have
Yeah,
one thing to hit the bronze ore that's already a bit of an awkward situation. He wasn't that bad versus Swoobat either. Um,
yeah,
like Evagero definitely is the kind of person who could, without something unfortunate like that, play like strong enough to kind of outplay Tondis. But I think Tondis had like a lot of stuff where Evagero would have had to play really well to pull it out because I just would have favored Tondis there.
yeah,
Not impossible. Certainly, Evagero has a lot more black white experience. Tondis was like a late sub because no one else could play black white. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, that really helped him out a lot. Uh,
Yep. All the time.
Now to run through the generation that neither of us are like super familiar with, out of obligation, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, PU. Uh, TSR versus Haysup. I think Haysup got really lucky early on to where like there was not much TSR could do, and that's saying like that. It's just another one of those sad games. Early on, he gets a big Spadef drop versus TSR's Ampharos, followed by a Signal Beam Confusion self hit on TSR's Mr. Mime, and like you start down two mons that you didn't need to be, and yeah, it's just not good.
yeah, I mean it's chalked after that point. To be honest, like there's no coming back from that. But yeah, the interesting thing is that Haysep was testing with me a couple of teams earlier on in the week. I assume because he lost to my team for week one, so he was like, okay, I'm free to test with this guy now. So yeah, we were testing a few teams, and as per usual, I was haxing the hell out of him in tests, and that's usually a good omen because whenever I hax the hell out of him, he then gets like extremely lucky in his weeks. So yeah, that's a good combination to have.
Yeah, not the case. And now probably like who would have been the best player going in is 0-2 so far, which but
Wait, Ace up lost. Are you talking?
oh no, I'm sorry. Hasep was the one who hacked. I
Yeah,
am tired. Yeah, Hasep won. Not much TSR could do. Kind of unfortunate. Hopefully he gets a better DP game next week. There, that's the narrative I meant to sell. Um,
yes,
General Annoyance versus Durza. This was the surprise like double thing because now Durza's 2-0, I believe, after beating General Annoyance. I'm 99% sure.
yeah,
He won this game.
yeah.
Um, I can't say a lot as to the caliber of plays necessarily because I don't always know how you're supposed to like play and reveal mons in DPP. Um, but what happened was that very late game, Durza kind of gets a full para that
A static power, yeah,
a static para followed by a full para, which pulled out a difficult late game situation. But like that was also
yeah,
only possible because General Annoyance kind of messed up a little bit.
yeah. I mean, I pushed the narrative that General Annoyance deserved to get hacked because
Okay,
he
moving
made them
on.
choke. That's the narrative that I like to push. So yeah, so Dozer just definitely deserved to win that game. We'll put it at that.
Yeah, just a little tough, but there's a 2-0. Your plan of let's not buy a DPP player going well so far.
Yeah,
I
dude.
think
I'm happy. I'm happy for him especially because he's a like a newer-ish player, new to the PU community. So I hope he can stick around for a bit as well. Maybe pick up SM.
mhm. Last one was another upset. Chris Loud versus Banks. Banks finally not bringing a jump off, so that's a plus. And hey, he's won 2 games. One of them got taken away.
Gee.
One of them got taken. Fuck. I'm tired. Okay, I'm not really thinking about enough stuff. Yeah, Banks. She pulled out a solid win versus Chris Loud. Um, my impression from this game was kind of that Chris Loud wasn't able to entirely effectively play around. Like he had not defensive counters, but defensive checks that needed to switch into the right coverage moves in the right order. And like
Yeah.
he needed to switch in, okay, is the Zatu going to Psycho or U-turn? Is the Victory Bell going to Leaf Blade or return? And
Mhm.
he kept kind of just not getting those correct and took a lot of damage in very difficult situations. Um, and that was like he needed to get the outplays on point, and he didn't, and he lost.
Yep. Yep. That's basically it. Yeah. I don't see anything so wrong with how Banks played. I feel like that was like as good as you can ask for from like a non DPP mainer perspective, or like non like DPP, like knowledgeable. I guess you can talk about that. But yeah, that was as good as you can expect. And Chris Loud, I just sort of think he just fell over himself in terms of his team selection. I think he could have played it a bit better with that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a little tricky, but yeah, needed to kind of pull it out a little stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what we had this week is that going into the week, you had Kinglers, Dedens, and Octilleries with a win, and Haunters, Victory Bells, Mistresses with a loss. And you had Victory Bells pull out a win versus the Kinglers. So now Victory Bells are 1-1, Kinglers are 1-1. You had Mistresses pull out a win versus the Octilleries. So Mistresses are 1-1, Octilleries are 1-1. But on the not evening it up side, we saw the Dedens now up 2-0 and the Haunters down 0-2. So that's kind of your standings. You have Dedens ahead. You have Kingler's, Victory Bells, Mischievous' Octilleries in the middle, and then Haunters. Yeah, number one ranked team. Like I said, definitely the possibility that they fall apart, can't quite pull it out, and that's kind of looks like what we're seeing here. They can't get Lockjaw
Yeah.
playing. They've got few subs. They're having some difficulties. Um, Definitely a little bit of unfortunate scenario with like the Katut Finch game, but also like Razori had to resort to bringing rain. Sam I Am definitely did not play that well versus Jerry. Um, they just need to kind of get it together, and they still have a strong enough lineup that they could pull it back, but they need to start clutching out these close scenarios that they're just not quite getting. That's kind of where I see their thing. Yeah.
Not much else to say, is there?
Nope. Nope. Um, week three is up. There's a lot of games that look fun, but we'll get to it next time. Uh,
Yep.
do you want to do another gimmick? Is that something that
Uh,
you would like to do for Hajad's gimmick corner?
yeah, sure, why not? Um, there's not really many gimmicks that were built this week, so to speak. But I guess I can reveal the cool Electro set that was used in Finch's game, which
Okay.
which I personally like a lot in this meta, and it's physical biased with Giga Drain. So it has knockoff, Drain Punch, U-turn, and Giga Drain is the filler. The main reason for this being you can invest really highly in your special defense and use it almost as like a pseudo guns check in that way. But also, um, by virtue of being physical, you're going to bait in like Quagsire, Gastrodon. So in order to not be weak to those things as well, you can just have slap Giga Drain on the end. Mudsdale as well, I should mention as well, but you can also hit it with Giga Drain. Um, Regirock is another target you can hit it with. Yeah, but just generally, like, U-turn gets a lot of damage on the things that are really good in this meta. So, like, Mesprit, that's really big. You could get loads of damage on that with U-turn. Guzzlord is another one of them.
Mhm. Yeah, I,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's just,
I think the set's pretty cool because it can hit some stuff that you can't always hit, while still mostly like kind of checking the things it always wanted to. I don't know it's
yep,
amazing
and
because Volt Switch is definitely like a much stronger pivot move than U-turn, but I see the merits.
yeah, it's also non-stab. So non-stab sets get like a point, I guess.
Mhm.
It creates some
I mean,
artificial scale.
the thing is, you're never expecting your Swanna to beat Electros. Well, I guess it wouldn't win because
Yeah,
you'd spam Giga Drain, then you couldn't Roost because then it'd be super effective. But point is, like, Electros is one of the Mons. We're going non-stab would be so weird that you're not expecting to be able to go into your Electric Weak move Mons. So definitely,
yeah,
like, there are
exactly.
worse
You don't,
things to go non-stab on.
yeah, 100%.
So with that, we're gonna end this off just slightly before the hour and a half mark. So hell yeah! Thanks for listening to another long ass recap. Um,
Mhm.
and we will see you guys next week with week three.